Hello and welcome to 100% Real with Ruby. Today I have the Ali Gilbert on, and I think this is episode 4 we've done together. We've done quite a few, but the last one has been for a really long time. And I love Ali because we are kind of like twins in a few weird ways. We like weird concoctions of food. We have a protein obsession. We both started off in the exact same place with the exact same coach, with the exact same fears, and we got through it in similar but different ways to the places that we are now, where we aren't so body dysmorphic. We aren't so hyper fixated on every single nook and cranny on our body, and we love our carbs, unlike when we feared them before. So with that, I'm bringing Ali back, and we set the context as those who still have quite a lot of weight to lose, but you've been trying to lose this weight for pretty much your whole life. On and off diets, on and off plans, trying the next best thing, what people typically call the yo-yo dieter. And then on the other spectrum, people like where Ali and I kind of were, where many others are, under-muscled. We feel like we don't know that it's a muscle problem. We feel like it's just that we just need to turn this last bit of fat into muscle. We just need to tone up this little area or harden up this little area. But in reality, everything we're doing is taking us further away from our goals because we're not doing anything productive to build muscle. We're not really in a place to lose fat because we're spinning our wheels, kind of like a yo-yo dieter, but more of a yo-yo mindsetter. So with that, here we go. Ali, fear of eating more, fear of doing less, a fear of eating more again, a fear of carbs, a fear of increasing our calories, a fear of hearing the words, eat 300 grams of carbs, Ali Gilbert, eat 300 grams of carbs, Ruby, from our very first coach. Tell them a little bit more about where we started, how we started, the fears we had, feeling like our body was different, and yeah, pretty much just talking about our start, the fears around that, and more on carbs and eating more.
It's funny because, now that I'm 42 and I look back at like what I was doing in my 20s and my 30s, and everybody always says, if I knew then what I know now, but it's so true. Like I started lifting at 15, but if I actually kept with it the way I have been the last 10 years throughout my entire life, I'm always like, I wonder what I actually would look like. But like every female, we get away from eating enough. We think, oh, we have to shrink, we have to get smaller. And like back in the day, butts were not in. Like having a big butt was like you were shameful. Like we had to cover it with a sweatshirt and everything. Like nobody had a big ass. And I had a big ass from soccer. And I was like, well, I'm so embarrassed I have this big butt. And now I'm like, shit, I wish I had that big butt, because that's all anybody trains, especially here in Florida. That's like, there's like 6 different glute machines at my gym. It's like the rage now. So obviously you can't grow the muscle there unless you eat enough to support that. But going all the way back to college, like when we would lift as a soccer team, most of us would not lift what we were prescribed and told to lift. And after that session, we'd go to the campus gym to do cardio because we thought, well, we're just going to detract what we just did in the weight room so we don't get bulky. And I'm like, oh my God, that was so embarrassing that we used to do that. And of course, drinking alcohol and partying and everything, you can kind of get away with that in your early 20s or when you're in college. But outside of that, you have like real life responsibilities. You actually have to look kind of like what you're trying to sell. So I don't think that my physique was the spitting image of like, oh my gosh, I want to be jacked like this chick. Now I feel I represent what I want to sell a lot better. But it took a lot to get to this point because I don't even know what I was doing workout wise, because after college, you have like no workout program, you have no reason to train. You're like, what am I even training for? I just want to look good. So you do whatever is kind of popular. So back then it was like, kettlebells were actually really popular in like 2005 and 6, even though they've been around for years. And then high intensity training and metabolic circuit training and all that stuff. So I thought I was doing the right thing. Why aren't I not shreddy looking? Then CrossFit became a thing, and then everybody looks a certain way. And I was just like, why don't I look like this? Maybe I have to eat less. Maybe I have to go zero carb. Maybe I just do protein and fat. And I tried all the intermittent fasting protocols. When John Berardi came out with his ebook in like, I think it was 2007, I tried every single protocol in there. Fucked me up. So we've tried everything. We've been through all these different diet fads because it also helps us to speak from experience as to how it felt for us. Not that that means it's not work for somebody else, but hey, at least we've tried it. And then now I'm not so afraid of carbs. I don't want to say I don't have body dysmorphia because I feel like we kind of all still have some sort of that. Highly, especially when you get to a certain level of leanness, and then anything above that, you feel obese. But now I could actually articulate a lot better to clients, which, we deal mostly with men, and men have all the same fears. If what you're doing right now is not working and what you've tried has not worked, or it only works for a little bit, there's obviously some sort of gap and disconnect there. And quite often that's sticking with something long enough to be able to push through the uncomfortable part, which for you and I, we had to gain weight before we were able to drop weight, and then see the forest through the trees. It's very difficult to paint that picture for a client or to help them feel like, trust me, it's going to get better, but it might get worse before it gets better because everybody wants it yesterday and they feel like 3 weeks is an eternity. And I understand that. But as the months go on and you start to transform because you've outsourced your fitness and nutrition, so you can't negotiate with yourself and you can't make dumb decisions based off what the scale says that day or how you look in the mirror or how you feel in your clothes, it's a lot better process, because then your mental energy can be spent towards something of higher priority or equal priority as your family, your work, and all that stuff. So it's a learning process.
I love that part where you mentioned that no one's willing to stick with it for long enough. And in the same breath, you mentioned that you and I did have to go through a process of gaining weight before we lost weight. And if you haven't listened to the last podcast with Ali, I remember this very clearly in the fact that luckily you measure things in pounds, we measure things in kilos. Ali and I literally had the exact same journey with the exact same coach, with the exact same scale bullshit, except I didn't have the luxury of being confused by what the fuck a pound was or what the fuck a kilo was, because it was kilos to kilos for Luke. With her, it was either standing on backwards on the scale and then just letting that number go automatically to the log with Luke, or it was just logging it in kilos when she didn't know what the hell a kilo was because she does everything in pounds, which helped her a lot get through that stick. But even if the scales are out of the picture, I feel like a lot of people now, because I hate controversial opinion, how your clothes fit can be the worst metric for the majority of people, especially if you're, number one, a petite woman, number two, just medium average in general, or skinny fat, because how you feel in your clothes is very subjective. It feels like it's not, but it is, because your pants did not suddenly get tighter in 3 days. You did not just gain a whole bunch of body fat in 3 days. If in 3 days, that's when you're complaining about it. And you can't just say, oh, it's been 2 weeks, my clothes are getting tighter, I'm gaining weight. Well, that's not by my doing, because I didn't put you in a surplus that big to have your clothes be an issue. So what exactly is going on here? So actually, let's also start it off with, why is a coach so valuable in this? The gaining before the lose and the fear of getting bulky, that kind of factors into where the clothes can be such a detriment, where the scale can be such a detriment. But then if you put yourself into the mindset of who's listening to this, they're fearful already as it is, because like, I know my story, and you can bring in yours as well, in that I struggled so hard to even see what I wanted to see. I felt like I was grinding it, but my body was different. my body just got bulky. It only put on fat. I felt like everything just stuck to me. Carbs don't work for me. I've struggled so much to stick to this calorie amount. There is no way I can do a diet again. And then the fear of, but I'm going to have to do a diet again if I gain all this weight back. And I know that I struggle with dieting because I don't want to eat less. I'm struggling to eat less. I want to be able to just be able to eat more like she does. But if I gain all this weight back and get further away from where I am now, I'm going to have to lose it again eventually. I'm going to have to do a fat loss phase eventually. But I can't do that. I'm struggling. And I know a lot of women are in that mindset. And that is because you are not living at maintenance. You are not doing the process that you need to do to get to where you need to be before your body senses that it's safe enough to lose fat, before your body senses that it's now thriving, it can optimize its functions to be in a place to lose fat, which even then you should still push that phase for long enough, because Ali and I did this for more than a year. It was like 2 or 3 years we pushed it for. And that process of building yourself up again, building the metabolism up again, that shit does not work if your mindset is still thinking about the next diet, of cutting, of restricting, because you're not mentally free. Take that over.
It's so hard. And I will say, like, the difference with men and women. So when our guys' clothes fit different, like, I'll have guys say, I had to go get my suit refitted, and my pants are tight around the quads and the butt. Like, they love it. They love when the shoulders, everything's tight, and they need to get their suit let out or something like that. If you need to get a whole wardrobe as a man, usually it's a good thing. And that's either because they've got bigger shoulders and a smaller waist, or because they've lost a lot of weight. And they never realized or thought that they could actually be in a place where that happens. So it is very subjective for both men and women. It is quite different. And a lot of people get married to knowing their body fat as well, which I've talked about, how DEXA scans and in-bodies and stuff like that. If you want to get it done, that's totally fine, but it can really ruin your day. And I made a post yesterday on that. I was like,
too. Oh my God, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Did you see my Facebook status yesterday? Right before I slept, the last thing I saw was someone on a Facebook group saying, I got these 2 scans 2 weeks apart, and I feel like I've been doing everything, eating clean. I've cleaned up my carbs, but I've gained all of this like fat, and I've lost muscle. I'm defeated. I'm eating in a deficit. I'm like, the thing that embodies are the best for is leaving you defeated, questioning everything you're doing, and never actually making progress. Like, fucking stop with the body fat test. Sorry, take over, because I just felt that hilarious. We both posted.
I posted about how, like, I don't really care about the in-body or the DEXA as much. I've gotten a DEXA. The last one I got was like 2 years ago, and there's a huge % error in any of them. And I use a very highly scientific method that I call the eye test, where I use my eyes to look at you. If you have abs, if you can see your abs, then we know we're in a good place, and we know what direction to go as far as what the goal is. If you can't see your abs,
full males.
The first thing we're going to do when you can't see your abs, we've got to drop body fat. We've got some work to do. So it doesn't matter the percentage of gaining and losing muscle at that point. And if you've done in-body, or if you've played around with it, like I used to have one in the office I worked at a gym. So I would look at this thing every single day, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to play around with it. And I would scan myself every single day for weeks on end. And I would basically get a different reading every single time, but I also played around with the carbs. So if you go really low carb, it's going to think you lost muscle, and it can show you, hey, you lost 6 pounds of muscle in a week, which we both know is not physiologically true. But for the mental health of a client, it could absolutely mind fuck them. So if you increase your carbs, or you have a lot of stored glycogen, it can read that as muscle and say you gained 6 pounds of muscle in a week. So either direction is going to be a lie, but obviously people will be more encouraged if it says that you gained 6 pounds. So, metrics like that, it's kind of like that. That's not really a big rock. It's more look in the mirror. What are we seeing? Are we seeing tightness somewhere? Are we seeing lines coming out? So those are really some of the things that I see as more important. And especially for men, when men go on testosterone replacement or they start to increase their food, the scale is definitely going to go up. And I love using kilos still. And I'll tell people if they have an issue with the scale, they can weigh in kilos, but guys are not as sensitive as women, but we do have some guys that do get pissed at the scale, and that's why we have them weigh every day just to see the fluctuations. But I was personally walking around at like 61 kilos when I started with Luke, and I stayed around 60 to 61 kilos for about 2 or 3 years, and my physique completely changed. And I wouldn't even step on the scale in the beginning. I had my husband read the number and text it to Luke because I was just not going to do that. And finally, I got over that. And basically, from 61 to 60 kilos within those 3 years, I had a dramatically different look to me. And then I was like, okay, 60 kilo, if I go over that, that's like my mark. And I think the highest that I ever got with Luke was 64.5. Or 65, because I was like, I'm going to put on some muscle, I'm going to put on some size, I'm going to be okay. And I realized that it was like proportional, because I think the fear for a lot of people when they've done those yo-yo diets, it takes so much to get weight off because they go to eat more that you don't feel like you're going to get it off.
Repeat. It takes so long to get it off. That's where the fear is. It takes so long to get the weight off. That is important, guys, because this is the fear so many of you have, because you feel like it takes so long for you to get that weight off. But if you do it right, the right way, which we're going to talk about very soon, it's going to just quote unquote melt off. It does take effort, but comparatively, it will melt off.
Yes. And it's hard to understand that if you haven't been through it. So I totally can relate to that fear. So it's a lot of acknowledging the client's feelings and then also showing them what their progress has been, which may not be scale related victories, but it could be how they look, because the way anybody sees their photos is never going to be the way somebody else objectively sees it, and their progress in the gym. And then over time, all those compounding victories add up to having your physique change as a byproduct. So when I thought, oh, well, I can't go above 60 kilos because that's where I looked my best, I would freak out if I was above 60 and think that, oh, well, here we go. We're going to get fat again and it's not going to come off. The lowest I ever hit this year, I was like 55.4. I had never been that in my entire life. And now I'm sitting literally 56, 57. I've been here since like January. And it's so much easier to stay stable than ever before. And I tell Luke this and I laugh because I'm like, dude, my diet is not like it was when I first met you. And he knows that I eat a lot of fake stuff. And people like see that as a thing, because then they're like, well, if I have to eat real whole food every single meal, which is a very good thing. However, we deal with a lot of guys that travel every week. They're on planes every week. They're very busy. If you tell somebody you can't have more than 2 protein shakes a day, like, I'm sorry, but they're not going to go to their kid's baseball tournament and try to find a microwave or pull out Tupperware. That's okay. You can live on shakes that day. I don't care. So they like that I relate to them in that sense, where I will eat fake things, I will drink protein shakes, and I can still stay the way I look, because you have all the big rocks in place, which are prioritizing protein and all that stuff. But I trusted the process enough with a coach to push through the uncomfortable part, which was getting calories up, to now I can raise calories for a week or so when I know I don't have an event or anything. And then it takes 2 to 3 weeks to actually look the way I want, even less, like a week for a photo shoot. So I can look photo shoot ready, give or take a week, year round, because all the habits I built and everything I learned from having a coach, who I still have, this is year 7, I've had him, I can implement all those strategies and just live my life and eat whatever I want. And maybe I don't go crazy, But now I know if I do go crazy and I gain 1 or 2 kilos over the course of a week, it's going to come right off because I'm on autopilot and I know exactly what I have to do. And if I freak out, I have my coach to put my head back on straight and tell me, shut up. You know that this is what we go through anytime the scale goes up too quick. But there's so many variables that go into that. And even just this week, I started increasing my protein to like crazy levels. I ate, 240, 260, 360 grams in consecutive days. And I felt a hell of a lot better. And Luke was like, you don't need to eat 300 grams. Like that's 5 grams per kilo. Like that's crazy. But it was a lot of work. And it shows that if we can just get clients to do one thing, which is hit minimal their body weight in protein, which 2.2 grams per kilo, that alone, if they can do that, I think that they will find a dramatic change in their physique. Because as you know, people undereat protein, and protein's almost, it can be categorized as like 0 calories in a sense, because overeating protein is not going to end up in storage of body fat. It's very difficult for the body to do that. So that was one of the big things that I learned. And to answer your question about the importance of having a coach, it's similar to trying to do your own mechanic work on a car. I know how to change oil. Would I trust myself to do it the same way a mechanic would? And then if anything goes wrong with my car, I don't know enough. So I bring it to a professional. And we have tons of clients. They've maybe played sports. Maybe they've done workouts in the gym. They've taken classes. They may know enough to get by, but this is not their profession. This is not what they spent their career learning about. So outsourcing that, just like you would grocery delivery or maybe childcare or house cleaning, this is outsourcing your health and your fitness and your nutrition. So you don't have to think about it. All that mental energy and decisions.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like a lot of people say, I don't have enough time or I don't have enough money for this, that, and the other. But it's like, do you realize how many resources you are saving by outsourcing this to a coach? Just because you eat, just because you think you should already know how to do everything because you've tried these diets before, or we can go into a whole other podcast on how general advice online can be so toxic. Even if it looks seemingly right, or even if it is good advice, it can be completely wrong for you. Especially there's so much I want to touch on. But yeah, like that's the thing there. And kind of I wanted to talk about why protein is so beneficial, because so many people are just like, oh, you're fine with just 1.6 grams. Do you want to just be moderate and mediocre, or do you truly want to change your life? Do you truly want to make this easier for you? Because prioritizing protein has a flow-on effect. Protein isn't something you can just whip out in your hands and be like, there, it's done. But you can do that with carbs. You can do that with fats. With protein, you need a plan for it. With protein, it's satiating. With protein, it kills your cravings. With protein, it's thermogenic, like you said. Protein, body composition, optimizing many things. Protein is more than just muscles. Protein is not going to make you bulky. Protein is probably the least likely to make you bulky. And building muscle isn't going to make you bulky. Oh, but every time I stop dieting, I just get fat. Every time I stop trying to lose weight on the scale, I just get bulky. There is a difference between not chasing dieting and intentionally doing maintenance, intentionally building a physique. Building the body that you want comes with intentional, focused effort, with a strategic plan that you don't just pluck off the internet. And you mentioned this as well with the scale, and this is going to happen. We get so caught up in the short-term emotions and focus so much on short-term results that it robs us from ever reaching our long-term ones. And that in itself is like a topic where because I really wanted to talk about the general advice online as well, but it's like macro calculators are part of that.
Yeah, they can be so confusing. And that's why I tell people, focusing on protein will get you a long way, because like you alluded to, it does squash your cravings. Like the last few days when I was like over 250 grams, I couldn't get my carbs in. And I was like, for me, this is a problem, but it shows that it can help squash any ability to take in any other type of food. And last weekend, I spoke at a fitness conference that Joey Antonio also spoke at. And he's the one who was involved with that study where they brought protein up to 4.4 grams per kilo. So he went through exactly what they did, and it was on men and women. And he was showing their blood work before and after. He was showing how, like, their food log of how they hit that. And he was saying, like, one of the biggest complaints he got was from a girl who was saying that she was so hot and that she had to sleep with the covers off and the fans on and everything because it was so thermogenic. And he was like, nothing changed really blood work wise. And for those who don't know the study, what they did is they overfed people 800 calories in protein beyond their maintenance. So if your maintenance is 2000, you would be eating 2800, but 800 of those calories are from protein. And he said one group lost body fat and nothing changed with the other group. So you could actually proven overeat protein and not gain body fat. And that's where this whole experiment of like, I just want to see how much I can eat in a day. Now, granted, I had like 4 shakes, 3 packages of deli turkey to get it in, because for me to eat like a full meal, that's a lot. I'm not a big eater. I'm an under eater at heart. So liquid shakes, totally fine. He did this study with whey protein. So they were taking in a lot of whey protein, and it did not affect their blood work. And the myth with the kidneys, that you and I know is still a myth. There are clinicians who still give that fear to people, saying it's going to hurt your kidneys. It can't create anything pathological. But if you have a kidney pathology beforehand, then that's another discussion. But this does not cause anything. And because you burn more calories eating protein than you do eating fat or carbs, this is a very unique way of being able to burn calories by eating more. And that can help people when they get cravings, when they feel like they need to eat more, or they're on the verge of binging. Binge on a whey protein shake, binge on a chicken breast. It's not as exciting. It's not hyper palatable, but it can help you change your physique, because his story was how he got into wanting to know about this when he was in school and he was learning about all these protein myths. He was like, hold on, how can this be true when all these bodybuilders and athletes that I know are eating so much protein and they look the way they do? Bodybuilders don't have kidney problems from protein. They have kidney problems from PEDs. That's a whole other discussion. So their protein intake was excessive. He had one woman who ate like 580 grams of protein one day, and he's like, she's shredded. Like she was a figure competitor. He had one guy who went over 1,000 grams of protein, like crazy levels. So I'm already at 3 grams per kilo for where Luke has me. And I went to 5, and I was like, it's work, but if it's something I want to stay dedicated to, I absolutely can. However, for me, it's just not necessary because I need the carbs to train. But for people who are struggling with what direction do I go, the easiest way to cut the bullshit, the most. Did you get that?
Nor the easiest way to cut the bullshit.
The easiest way to cut the bullshit is to just eat your body weight in grams of protein. And if you're hungry, eat more of it. And you'll eat less carbs and fat, guaranteed. And now the confusion of, well, what counts? Can I go eat ribeyes? Can I go eat chicken breast? What can I have? Obviously, a ribeye is delicious. So maybe 1 ribeye is okay. I wouldn't have 4 of them in a day. But err on the side of leaner cuts like a fillet or shrimp or fish or chicken breast and stuff like that. But guaranteed, even then, like the fat content is not going to blow you out because you're going to be so full from the amount of protein that you eat. that would be the most simple step for somebody to start with, is to start there. And if you don't know if you're there, you have to track to see where you come out at. Because a lot of people, when they do track, when they never have, their protein is much lower than they think it is, and their fat is way higher than they think it is.
Yeah, that is absolutely true there. And I will say, if you're not sure on this, are you sure that we weren't separated at birth, by the way? First, we have the body fat thing that we've spoken about literally at the same time. Because you said last night, I said last night, you posted something on high protein and you started talking about high protein and doing high protein. You obviously didn't see my post because you were busy, but I literally just put one up 2 days ago featuring with Alan Aragon on why 3.4 grams of protein can be a really great way to optimize your body composition if you can push it up to that. If not, the greatest hack is knowing what sources are lean sources of protein so that you don't end up over in fat and carbs. So go back to the 4th of June, post on my page, or just inbox me protein. You can inbox Ali protein for her little spiel on protein as well, because she put one up at the same time as us. And if anyone messages you protein, you have to find that protein reel. But
I will.
That's the thing with protein. If you can find lean sources, that is going to fill you up a lot. Egg whites. And the funny thing is that I actually eat 4 times my body weight. I eat about 180 to 220 every single day without even using a single bit of protein powder. Like I love food a lot. So you can't use the excuse, I love food too much, I can't get results. No, you just need to make the changes in your lifestyle to facilitate the things that you're not willing to trade off. Like, I love food. I love eating. I have to push my activity up. I have to, like, I'm maintaining on so much more than I did when I started because I have a shitload more muscle mass. But that is only a part of the portion. I'm way more active outside of the gym because I'm not smashing myself with HIIT, with circuits, with metabolic circus buffoonery that's going to leave me without any energy to do anything else outside of the gym, which is where a lot of people fall short with their calories. But like you said with the heat as well, that is a waste of calories. That is your body wasting calories by being more thermogenic and making you hot, because heat is your body just giving off calories for the sake of giving off calories. And
the weird thing, sorry, I mean, no, the weird thing was I had more energy those last 3 days, and I was like, this is very strange, because I wasn't eating as many carbs, because I usually hit around 200 carbs. I was only reaching like 100. Granted, it was only 3 days. And I tried to keep it up yesterday. I only hit 180 today. I don't know where I'm at. I have to look. But just like you said, you're eating beyond. It is something to consider, because I don't want to say you don't need to do cardio, because that's going to be contextual as far as what someone's goal is. But if they've done a lot of cardio, you could probably bring that down, even though it's scary. Eat more protein, which is also scary, but just see what happens and go from there. And I had a genuine discussion with Joey, and I was like, the mechanism behind people dropping body fat. Because if you think about the thermic effect, and this is where the sciencey part gets sciencey, can that actually exceed somebody's maintenance calories? Is there a compounding effect where instead of up to like 25, 30% of thermic effect, if you're eating so much protein, it just jumps to 40? He actually didn't really know the answer, but he alluded to it being thermic effect, which I think is fantastic, because here's a way to burn calories without having to do anything, but really just eat. So that would be like going back to like, what is the one step to start with? Start with that. If you want to keep the classes and the cardio, that's fine, but you'll get hungrier, but just eat protein instead. And when you lift weights, your body will change, because now you have enough protein in you to where your body's not going to take from your muscle to be able to make you survive. So it's going to break down from somewhere.
Now, there's 2 things you said. One of them way back before was, that's not going to work for me because I need carbs to train. And the other part then was, you can keep all the cardio and classes and stuff, but that's just going to make you hungrier. This is something people do not realize. The shit that you do in the gym influences your results. The shit that you think you need to do influences your results. And that is probably why your deficit isn't working for you, because it's making you hungrier without realizing. Because if you're not feeding that activity, if you're underfueling your performance, if you're not feeding the training and the recovery that you're doing, there's going to be a compensation somewhere. Your body is still in that stressed out state. Your cortisol is still ramped up. You want to starve it of carbs. Carbs are needed to bring that cortisol down. Your cortisol is still ramped up. And then what happens once everything's settled at the end of the day? Your cortisol just crashes pretty much. Or is it the glycogen dump, whatever way you want to describe it? It comes down. And then all of a sudden, with that blood glucose down, that cortisol down, your body's like, okay, I need more carbs. I need more energy. My blood glucose is in the dumps. What am I going to do? What do you think you're going to do? You're not going to be full after dinner. You're not going to be full at the end of the day. You're going to want to keep eating more beyond your full point because you haven't yet registered that satiety thing. So maybe you can bring that one in as well. But this kind of going back off on what I said before on why the scales are shit. The blood fat test is shit. Blood fat. The body fat test is shit. Macro calculators are shit for the majority of people for long-term physique change. For long-term physique change. Especially macro calculators, because if you're starting off really overweight and you put your weight in and you put your height in and you put your activity in, it's probably going to tell you that 26 or 2,800 calories is a moderate deficit. But here you are with a lot of extra body fat. You could probably get away with a deficit that is much lower. The only thing holding you back is, can you be consistent with 1,800 calories? Because that isn't going to be detrimental to you when you have high body fat levels. But then again, this is why it's so context specific, and again, why it's beneficial to have a coach, because macro calculators are absolutely bullshit for the majority of people. It does not know your history. It does not know what your body is actually at right now. Because if you're sedentary, this lady was sedentary. I saw 2 people talk about macro calculators today and 4 people talk about body fat tests yesterday. But this one girl in particular, really overweight, she was sedentary, and she said that her aggressive deficit calories said 2,600. And then her boyfriend, who's a bodybuilder, said that's too aggressive. That's like an 1,000 calorie deficit. You should be having about 2,900, 3,000 for your deficit. And I'm like, this is why the world is so lost and confused, because they say they can't afford a coach, but they just end up spinning their wheels and ending up in a worse place and then having to pay even more than that in the long term. It doesn't, I know that it is a financially tough time, but being a coach, Ali and I have been doing this for 7 years ourselves the right way with a coach, and probably coaching much longer than that. I've been coaching for about 8-9 years. You're probably about 8, 9, 10 years-ish as well.
20. I'm old, Ruby.
I'm thinking about your training age being related to it. I've been training for 7, 8 years properly, and coaching for about, actually, I think I'm on 8, 9 years now, and you 20. We've been seeing this shit for ages. Back when Facebook was a thing, we saw people come in and out of groups, flaking away. Coaching wasn't as big of a thing then as it is now. You have so much potential now to get beyond where you think possible for yourself if you just take that step, because it's better than confusing yourself with all this bullshit online, going to body fat tests and getting defeated and then questioning everything. But to be honest, some people still do that when they get a coach because they still haven't yet trusted the process, which is why we had this conversation to start with, where we understand. We know that it feels really difficult to do something that feels like it's anti everything that you've done. I have a particular girl who signed on who feels like she's never making any progress and she has nothing to work with. And I'm like, I literally just gave you one thing to focus on and you're not sticking to it. The protein, the veggies, that is it. Protein, veggies. Even if you just focus on protein, I feel like I don't have anything to gauge progress. It's like, that was the very thing and you're still not doing it. Just focus on that one thing. People are like, it's so hard to get it through to people. It's like, what do you think progress is? Grinding your ass off on a meal plan and me telling you to do all of this crazy cardio? Shift your meaning of progress. One thing that I think is really important for you to talk on because we are both muscle nerds, kind of students through and through, and we kind of that trademark for life no matter what we do. Health first. Health always first. If you like, someone comes to us and they're not in a healthy state, blood pressure wise, heart rate wise, their heart rate's through, like they have a high resting heart rate, they're just physically unhealthy. Why is it so much harder to be in this position? You know what? Another form of being unhealthy is being a yo-yo dieter. Your body has there's no stable ground to build on. You haven't steadied the ship. It doesn't know what to do. It doesn't feel safe. So what's it going to do? Nothing. So if you come to us yo-yo dieting or with an unhealthy body, your body isn't going to change the way that it possibly could if we could get you to a healthier state, getting you more aerobically fit, getting you at maintenance calories for at least 6 months to build up these habits, to build up you to a place that we can then, this is if you have excess fat to lose, because if you don't have excess fat to lose, then we could extend this even further. Ali and I did it for a few years. You said to yourself, you stayed at 61, whatever. To me, I started with Luke around 55, 56. He took me all the way up to 61, 62. And that was over the course of 3 years. Mm-hmm. I forgot to tell my story here. I think this is going to be important. Now I'm sitting around back again at 50. Actually, no, I'm not. I don't think I could ever really sit. Yeah, actually I could, because I was at the other month. I'm around 50, 55 to 57. I fluctuate between that. In a completely different body than what I started with Luke with. I have way more muscle mass. I look so much lean. Do I look leaner than I did when I started with Luke?
Yes.
Because you see me. I look different than I started with Luke. I don't like, in the process, I never felt like my body was changing. I feel like I look the same. But you can physically tell that I look different than when I started. Like, I look leaner. That's what I've had people say. That's why I'm saying that.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's helpful to talk about this for people, and also to touch on the fact that they probably think it's easier for us because we like working out, and there's days where it's a struggle. There's days where, I don't really want to look in the mirror. There's days I don't want to step on the scale, but now I realize if the scale goes up, that's normal. If it goes down, that's normal. Like, it's not a win either direction. Does it freak me out some days? Of course. Is this always easy? Absolutely not. Do I have to navigate going out to dinner, being on the road, doing events, all this stuff? Sure. Are people going to make fun of you? Absolutely. And that's a part that people don't usually realize. I have to have this conversation with guys all the time. I ask them, is your wife on board with this? Is she similar to you? Does she support you? Do your friends support you? Are your friends healthy? Who are you hanging around with in your social circle that has this same mindset? Are they guys that want you to go out and drink with them every weekend? Because your social circle can and will change if you're the only one who is now taking fitness as a priority, wanting to go to bed early to get to the gym, starting to become addicted to the gym. It's a shift that triggers other people, and other people may want those same goals, but they can't get themselves to do the same thing. So they're going to speak negatively. They're going to resent you. They're going to be upset. And that's a part of this whole process that I think a lot of people subconsciously know is going to happen. So they don't talk about that, but that's where their inability to be compliant comes through, because on the weekend, one of their friends was giving them shit and they gave into it. And I tell them, I'm like, guys, you're going to fail. You're going to have a couple drinks when you don't want to. You're going to eat something that you don't want to. Over time, you'll become more confident. You'll become more resilient to that. You'll be able to shut out that noise, because you'll realize the more you change your physique and focus on yourself, the better your family life comes, the better your business is, the more respect you command just by walking in a room looking a certain way. We have dealt with a lot of CEOs and business owners who know exactly what they need to do in business. They will come to coaching sometimes and tell you what they need, but they don't really know what they need. And you have to ask the question, whether it's to a client or yourself, is what you're doing working for you? Because there's a reason you came to talk to me, and that's because you've taken yourself as far as you can by yourself. I'm in the same boat. When I tell clients I've had a coach for 7 years, they're like, what? I'm like, yo, I'm the same as you. I am no different other than I chose to make this my career. I still do not want to handle my own nutrition, my own fitness. I will make emotional decisions, and negotiating with yourself is one of the hardest things that you'll ever do. And you'll spin your wheels, like you said. So being able to have somebody else objectively see things and know the path that I'm on when I don't even know the path I'm on is so much more helpful, because we know the roadblocks and the bottlenecks that people are going to come up against, because they're always going to have life things, birthday parties, vacations. You get stuck at work, you're at a kid's tournament, you just ran out of time, you didn't manage your time well. Those are all normal things. And it's not saying you failed. It's helping you navigate those for when it happens again, not to punish you for stuff like that, because you're always going to have stuff come up. You're going to move. A parent is going to get sick. Something is going to happen that you have to prioritize your attention to. And we want you prepared and equipped to be unbreakable to any type of adversity that happens in your life. And that's what we're here for. We're not like, here's your macros, here's your workout plan, do as we say. It's more of a support system and somebody to help guide you for when these big things that you have to confront come into your life.
Yeah, and this shit happens over time, not over a week or overnight. And that this is the stuff that keeps your results permanent. This is what ensures that you're successful long term. And this is kind of what I was saying before as well, where I am leaner now at the same body weight-ish, but I now, granted, I actually think I lost 3 or 4 kilos of muscle over lockdown period because I didn't train for about 2 months because I tore my hamstring, and then I had to rehab my hamstring. So I lost a lot of muscle mass over that period. And you don't realize what you lost until it's gone. I never appreciated the building phase until lockdowns. And if you didn't have the luxury of building something phenomenal before lockdown and then losing some of it and then getting the hunger back, if you approached it the right way instead of saying, oh, I wish I was back there again. Oh, I'll never get back there again. But you're actually like, I lost so much. I appreciate this so much more now. Now I want to build. But that doesn't mean that the mindset of fear of, oh my God, there's going to be fat to lose later. Oh my God, I'm going to get bigger. Oh my God, I'm going to lose my ab definition. Oh my God, all these things can come up in your head. But it's like at the same time, I've lost weight before. I trust myself to be able to get to that position again, because how long have I been doing this before? I think when we're in the moment, it's so easy to get heated. But if we realistically have the discussion with ourselves, because if you've been overweight before and or you haven't been overweight before, but you've struggled before, or just been in a position where you weren't where you wanted to be and you struggled, it's hard to have the recognition that you're not going to end up back where you were, because your whole lifestyle is different. You have different priorities now, and you might slip off, quote unquote, for a week or two, but it's going to feel so foreign to you that you're going to want to get back because of how shit you now feel, how your life has just crumbled away, because the one thing that has been your anchor, which is your training, your nutrition that made you feel good, you experienced what it's like to thrive, to feel really good, because you allowed yourself to mentally as well. Now you want to go back to that again. It's not something that you're going to stray from all the time. It's just a place that you visit, recollect yourself, and get back on track. But sabotaging yourself and berating yourself for falling back to that is not the way to be. And I think, because I wanted you to talk on this, just to like sum it up in a way as well. The health first, yes, because I want to bring that health into this last aspect. But I know you speak a lot on, it kind of touches on what you were talking about before. It's not a bad thing that things change for you as you embody this lifestyle, because your lifestyle changes for the better. Your environment changes for the better. You make more money. I have girls that are making double what they used to, close to double what they used to make now, because they've either gotten promoted at least 2 times in the time that we've worked together, or they had the guts to quit a job that was draining them because they realized that it was leaving them defeated without any energy, and they wanted to start prioritizing their health. So in doing that, it allowed them to go for better jobs. But this is an internal job. You can't physical, that's going to be a word, you can't physical your way into this. if you do the mental work, you're going to have the confidence to then go for better jobs instead of just settling for what is good enough, that will make enough money. There are people that are making more. There are people that have now got themselves out of toxic relationships and are now in more thriving ones. I have 2 girls that have had the guts to actually, not really a great thing because it's so shunned in America, but 2 girls had the guts to go through a divorce that they knew they needed to go through to get to the other side, where now they're actually thriving and not in this toxic environment. Now that is a minority, but your other relationships around you where you now stand up for yourself and you don't let people walk all over you, because you usually settle for what you think you deserve, but you deserve so much better. End the podcast with that, and then we can like tie a bow, including my carbs and protein are so amazing.
It's a lot to sum up, but I will say, you know, dealing with mostly men, the way that I spin it for them, and this can work for women as well, whatever profession they're in, is if you look at a lot of CEOs nowadays, a lot of them, their biggest flex is having abs. So Mark Zuckerberg is in shape now. He's got abs. Grant Cardone, Bedros Koulian, Ari Emanuel from Amazon compared to now. Are of a successful man, showing that they have discipline, they have work ethic, they prioritize health, they take care of themselves, except for Elon Musk, but he's another story. He needs work. So all of these guys, he does, because everyone will say, oh yeah, but Elon, okay, Elon's like the one outlier, but it does say something without saying anything. So if you're going to do business or be in the boardroom or go to a store or whatever, and someone looks like they take care of themselves, they prioritize health, they give a shit, there's something about that. And that's what I was saying, where you can walk into a room and immediately command respect, because it is so minority now to be able to have a fit looking physique, that's something you can't buy. That is a status symbol of itself, to show that you have work ethic and discipline. So already you're showing, I give a shit. I'm a good person to be able to do business with. I'm somebody that has the discipline, the grit, the ethic, everything to get it done. That can only amplify in the rest of your lives, whether that's personal, business, anything. You're going to have more confidence. More confidence is going to show in every other aspect of your life. So whether that's eating more carbs, less carbs, whatever it is, do what you have to do to get there. And it's probably the 180 opposite of what you have been doing. And that's okay. And it's being willing to confront change, and that what you have been doing maybe has not been working, and you got to try something else, and you have to relinquish control and give that to a professional. But that's what we do, and that's what we're here for.
I absolutely love that. And I think you just gave me how the pursuit of a title for this podcast, how the pursuit of building a better physique can change your whole life, because it's who you become in the process. It's the ground that you start to command. It's the energy that you start to put out, the energy you start to attract. It's everything that you have been working so hard for in the last 20 years finally taking shape, because you finally decided, I'm going to do this the right way. I'm going to ask for help. I'm going to stop my bullshit. I'm going to stop trying to force things that do not work. And I'm going to give this thing a real shot, because I deserve better for me. I deserve putting myself first for me, because there is no other way. The other way is history repeating itself. Think about it. History repeating itself is you just doing the same shit that you've always done, because even if you quote unquote know better, you only know better in the box that you have yourself. You haven't yet built other tools or expanded the box. So you knowing better might be you just discovering a corner of the same box you got yourself trapped in. You're still going to stay stuck in that box. So with that, carbs are amazing. Eat your damn protein, lift the muscles. I mean, lift the weights, build the muscles, and check out Ali on Instagram at the Ali Gilbert, because she's fucking amazing. And our old podcasts, if you Google 100% Ruby and 100% Real with Ruby and look for Ali Gilbert in the past podcasts, I'll try to link them below. But honestly, our podcasts should give you hope that it is possible, because both of us were in a place where we never thought that this was possible for us. And now look at us years later. And we still don't want to take care of our own shit. So we scoff it off to others to look after it because we know the benefit of it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Ruby.
Love you all. If there's anything else that you want to plug, is there anything else you want to plug down below?
Oh, yeah. If anybody's interested in traveling to the US this November, I put on the one and only Silverback Summit, which is the only men's health event of its kind. Both men and women can attend, but it's my network of testosterone replacement physicians, business coaches, fitness coaches, nutrition coaches. Luke will be there speaking, another practitioner from Australia, Dave Lee. So we do have a few people from Australia and actually all over the world who come attend this. It'll be in Phoenix, Arizona, November 15 through 16. So you can find that in the link in my bio, or go to silverbacksummit.com. We have our early bird tickets going on now.
Yay! Well, you probably have a lot of people that are in the US, because a majority of my audience is actually from the US. So
cool.
Yeah, I love you all, and I hope you gained a lot from this podcast. Let us know, tag us. I get more DMs than I do tags, so DM her as well. Like, honestly, I like getting DMs from people telling me what they got from my podcast, and I know that guests love it as well. So please do that. Love you all, and bye.